Hi folks, and welcome to lesson 4, where we are going to look at two more glacial features, Aretes and Pyramidal peaks. So before we do that, what we'll do is we'll recap how corries are formed just very quickly. This is because Aretes and Pyramidal peaks are two features which sort of follow on from corries. You don't get Aretes and Pyramidal peaks without corries. So we'll start by a quick recap of corries, and we are also going to then go on and look at, well, what are Aretes, what are Pyramidal peaks, how are they formed, and then we're going to do some work on how to identify corries, Aretes and Pyramidal peaks on OS maps. So this will all correspond with pages 9 and 10 in your booklet today. Okay, so just quickly jumping back to corries then, here we have our named example of a corrie. This is Red Tarn Corrie down in the Lake District. Beautiful big bowl-shaped hollow that's been carved out of the side of this mountain here, and we can of course see red tarn in the middle there. Okay, we can see as well there is a bit of a scree slope at the back of this particular corrie. Frost shattering will be continuously taking place even today, long after glaciation. Frost shattering can still take place here, and the little pieces of rock called scree will break off and fall to the base here. So we've often got a scree slope at the back wall of a corrie. We've got a steep back wall, we've got a big bowl shape, classic corrie then. Okay, so how was that formed again? Well, as you've got in your booklet from pages 6 to 8, we went through the various different stages involved in the formation of a corrie. Here you can see just another little set of diagrams similar to what you've already looked at, but again just to give you another insight into how corries are formed. You can see here, so we've got snow building up in a hollow on a mountainside. Very often it's a north facing mountainside, remember, because these are in the shade during the warmest part of the day. So snow is able to build up and lie around longer, so it's able to compact and compress to form ice. Eventually, when the glacier becomes big enough and heavy enough, it will start to move downhill. It will also start to rotate because of the irregularities underneath the glacier, the uneven surface underneath the glacier. And as this happens, there will be two processes taking place. Remember, you'll have plucking taking place on the back wall, making it very steep, and you'll have this abrasion grinding away the big bowl shape underneath the glacier. Okay, and all of that generates this bowl-shaped hollow that a corrie is. Right, at the end of the glacial period then, you will have a landscape that looks like this, where you've got your bowl-shaped hollow and very often a corrie loch, sometimes called lochen, sometimes called a tarn down south, and it's held in place by this rock lip here. Okay, where glaciation was not as extreme at the front of the glacier, so you've got this little lip left, and it acts as a dam to keep in the meltwater when the glacier melts. Final wee bit here, just again remember, frost shattering can take place above the glacier, and that creates this sort of jagged summit. Okay, right, so we also last day looked at corries on OS maps, so you should all have this diagram. And as you can see here, you're looking for a sort of bowl shape with the contour lines, a bowl shape, or sometimes called a horseshoe shape. And very often you've got your tarn or corrie loch, which is there in the middle as well. Okay, so I'd issued you with this. This is in your booklet as well. And I asked you to try and circle some examples of corries. Lots of you have submitted that already, which is great. So your corrie is... This is the Gaelic term for it here, so you're seeing it here, 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 up here as well. So lots of examples in this small section, and you can see in these examples, look at the contours making this sort of bowl shape, horseshoe shape. We know that these are definitely corries, so really good examples there. Even here, we don't have an obvious corrie loch or tarn here, but you can see that the bowl shape contour lines are making indicates that this is in fact a corrie as well. Okay, right, so moving on then to our two features for today. First of all, an arete. What is an arete? You should recognise this image. This here is actually Red Tarn Corrie. Okay, now where Red Tarn Corrie is found, there is actually another corrie right next to it. And where these two corries meet or join forms this sharp, jagged, sort of knife-edged ridge, and that is called an arete. So an arete is simply where two quarries meet back to back or side to side, and the steep back or side walls of the quarry join to create this steep ridge that we can see here. This one is called striding edge, and it's our named example of an arete. Okay, so as it says here, what an arete is, it's simply when two quarries form back to back or side to side, and the steep back or side walls join to form this steep knife edge ridge. This is called an arete. The arete is made more jagged even after glaciation through the process of frost shattering that we've been learning about as well. Striding edge, very popular with walkers. You can see here people walking along this sharp ridge. Can be very, very dangerous to do so in the winter, and many people have actually been injured. Some people have actually died having fallen from striding edge. So really quite a precarious sort of ridge, this very sharp, jagged ridge here. So that is an arete, simply two quarries back to back, side to side, creating this steep ridge between the two of them. Okay, this is another example. Again, you can see quarry here. There's a quarry at the other side here, and you can see this ridge which separates the two quarries. That is our arete. Okay, so it's as simple as that. It's just the point where two quarries meet back to back / side to side. Okay, right. This diagram as well, I think, highlights an arete really quite well too, because we've got a quarry here, here's the ridge, which creates our arete. However, this is supposed to be a sort of 3D diagram, and in actual fact, what we've got is we've got another quarry behind this mountain landscape that we're looking at here. This is another arete here, and another arete here. Now, where you have three quarries or more joining together, the aretes will lead up to a peak, and we call that a pyramidal peak. For obvious reasons, it looks like a pyramid. So where you get three or more quarries forming back to back, a sharp point gets created, and this is called a pyramidal peak. And again, just like an arete, pyramidal peaks are further sharpened through the process of frost shattering. So a pyramidal peak is simply where three or more quarries form back to create a sharp point where the aretes meet. That is a pyramidal peak. Okay, so another diagram really just showing the same thing. We've got quarry. We have to imagine there's another quarry behind here in this 3D diagram, and where the aretes are all leading up and meeting, we call this the peak, the pyramidal peak. It's sometimes also called a horn. You may see it being referred to as a horn. Such as in this example here. Now this is, as you can see, a beautiful landscape, beautiful glacial landscape. This is the Matterhorn, which is in the Swiss Alps, and this is a great example actually of a pyramidal peak or horn. As you can see here, these aretes, these very steep ridges leading up to create this point here. So really beautiful landscape again there. Okay, this is just another view of it. I think in this one you can see the quarry here really clearly. There's the arete and there's the peak up at the top. So this image here shows us what this landscape perhaps would have looked like previously. Okay, so it would have been a more rounded mountain, but over time, glaciers have carved these hollows into the sides of the mountain to create quarries, to create aretes, and to create this peak, this pyramidal peak at the top here that we call the Matterhorn. Okay. So the next thing is, how do we identify aretes and pyramidal peaks on OS maps? Right, this can be quite tricky, but we'll have a look at this and see if we can get a best understanding as we can as how we find these. Apologies, this image is black and white. What this is these little kind of grey lines here. These are supposed to be contour lines. Okay, you can see we've got a little tarn here, or quarry log. So contour lines here and contour lines here as well. These sort of black score lines, when you see that in an OS map, as you'll see from some of the images we're going to look at soon, these little black sort of score lines, they represent sort of bare, exposed rock. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got a quarry this way here, contours making a bowl shape this way, contours making a bowl shape the other way, so two different quarries, and where they're meeting we've got this bare exposed jagged rock here that we call an arete. So this ridge represented by these black score marks. Pyramidal peaks, these can be really quite tricky to identify on an OS map. This is quite a simplified version to see first of all. So we can see here there are at least there's 4 quarries here. There's a quarry here, here, and here. Okay, where all the quarries, or with the middle of these quarries, you'll notice a spot height and a figure there. So this point here, this would be your pyramidal peak. Okay, the highest point in the landscape. So where you find a spot height and you can see that there are quarries around about the area, the chances are you've possibly found yourself a pyramidal peak, and we'll get you doing some practice in that very soon. Okay, so this is just another little set of diagrams. You've actually got these diagrams on page 10 in your booklets, if you have a little look at that as well. So this is just a kind of 3D, what a quarry looks like, and this is what it would look like on an OS map here. Okay, the bowl shape, contour lines, the kind of horseshoe shaped contour lines. An arete, these ridges, again, look at this, look at these black sort of score marks. We can see a quarry, Look where the two quarries are meeting here. We can see these black score marks. This is an arete. Okay, that's what we're looking for to identify those. Pyramidal peaks, you'll often see quarry here. We can see a little triangle. Little triangles like this on an Northern Survey map represents a summit or a peak in the area. If you see these, and if you can see some quarries nearby, chances are you've probably found yourself a pyramidal peak. Okay. Right, this is just another example then of a map extract where we can see some of these features that we've been talking about here. So this is again down in the Lake District. There's Red Tarn Quarry. Okay, so we can see the bowl shape here. There's Striding Edge, the arete, okay, which separates the two quarries that are found in this area here. Okay, so remember we've got a quarry here, quarry up here. Okay, you can see as well the contours sort of making a sort of bit of a sort of curved shape here as well. So any sort of ridges where you see these black score marks, the chances are that these are aretes. So we've got Swirl Edge that we looked at, and we've got Striding Edge, an unnamed example as well. Okay, here we can see this little blue triangle with the dot in the middle, and you can see the figure 949. When you see this, and you can see lots of examples of quarries, we can make a good estimate this is a pyramidal peak that you've found here. So they are tricky to spot, these ones, but where you find spot height, a little blue triangle, not always but often a little blue triangle, and also some quarries nearby, you can say that you've got a good chance of having found a pyramidal peak there. One other little thing just to point out here just now as well, look at it over here. Can you see the little black dots here? These little black dots again represent rock. Okay, so little bits of rock on a slope. What could that be? A scree slope. We've talked about frost shattering creating scree slopes, where these little pieces of rock get broken off of the rock face and build up to form a slope. These are examples of scree slopes. Okay, so that's just another wee feature that you're able to identify here. Right, moving on then guys, what I'm going to get you to do just for your push yourself further task is I'm going to get you to go on and access some Ordnance Survey maps online and see if you can find some examples of aretes, quarries, pyramidal peaks, maybe even some scree slopes as well, and see if you can find some of these and share them with us. Okay, so to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to use something called Digimap for schools. This is something that we've been signed up for as a school. It's free for you guys to use, and it provides you with access to OS maps for the whole of the UK. It's a really, really brilliant website, and it's a really brilliant resource for you. So I'm going to get you to do, and I'll show you how you do this. You're going to log on to this. The log on details, username and password are provided for you, just along with this post here. And I want you to go and look at places like the Cairngorms, Loch Lomond in the Trossachs, Lake District National Park, Snowdonia National Park. These are all glaciated landscapes where you should find things like corries, aretes, pyramidal peaks. Take some screenshots of these and just paste them into your Push Yourself Further file that you've been issued with on Google Classroom. So if we just come out of this slideshow a second, and what I would like you to go into is just go into Google and just search for Digimap for Schools. You can see it coming up there already for me. So Digimap for Schools. So it'll be the first link. Go to login. Now I'm already logged in, but I've provided, as I say, the login details for you guys. So once you've logged in, you'll come to this screen here. Okay, where you've got a map of the whole of the British Isles. You can then search for places. So let's just search for Cairngorms National Park. Cairngorms. It comes up Cairngorms National Park and it will take us right there. Okay, so now what we can do is we can have a little look around. You can drag this about and you can have a look at the different area around here. So right away, look at this, Corrie Nachlach, Nanclach. Okay, so that would obviously be a good example of a corrie. Can you find any others? Can you find aretes? Can you find pyramidal peaks? If you can, what to do is take a screenshot, okay, and then paste it into your Google Docs file, which is called Push Yourself Further, where you have to do your extension work. So if you don't know how to take a screenshot, just Google it. There's probably a button on your laptop or your tablet, whatever you're working on, print screen button. Another nice little thing you can use for this is a little app called Snipping Tools. So Snipping Tool, you can probably download it from wherever you get your apps from, and it just allows you to take little screenshots. So I'm going to click on it, click New, okay, and then I will just highlight the corrie here. It will then allow me to copy that, and then when you go into your classwork, Push Yourself Further task, you could go on and you could simply paste that in, and that would be excellent. Okay, and you can just call that, just label that as a corrie. Okay, so go on to that, have a little play around with it, see if you can find some good examples of corries, aretes, pyramidal peaks. Okay, so that should take you up to page 9 and 10 in your booklet. Please also have a go at these Push Yourself Further tasks. Have a little look around on this Digimaps for Schools, fantastic resource for you, and have some fun with that. Okay, thank you.